Welcome back. Quantum Space, a U.S. space technology company, defense company, is working to meet the Department of War's growing demand for advanced technology in space with its Ranger spacecraft. The spacecraft platform can operate across every orbital regime, from low Earth orbit to cislunar space. That's the space between Earth and Moon. The capabilities of satellites. The company expected to launch its first mission as early as next month. And joining me now in a Fox Business exclusive is the CEO of Quantum Space, Jim Bridenstine. Jim, great to have you. Welcome.
Thank you, Maria. Good to be with you.
Tell us what you're working on at Quantum Space.
So a lot of people may not realize how every domain of warfare is dependent on space. The way we communicate, the way we navigate, the way we do intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, the way we use networking in theater, dependent on a timing signal from space. Missile warning, missile defense, nuclear command and control, all dependent on space. So whether you're in the air, on land, or on sea, in a theater of war, we're dependent on space. The enemies of the United States have recognized this, and they have launched anti-satellite missiles, co-orbital anti-satellite satellites. So think of a satellite that can fly in formation and kill another satellite. They've launched jamming and spoofing, dazzling capabilities using laser energy to confuse a satellite, even directed energy to kill satellites. So what we have to do as a nation is we have to combat against this. We need what the Space Force calls maneuver without regret, or dynamic space operations. We need satellites that have high energy, that can get out of the way of threats, that can be seen when they want to be seen, but also the enemy doesn't know where they are or when they're going to show up when it's time to go to war. So this is the type of capability that we're building at Quantum Space.
That is incredible. I know that space is fast becoming a really warfighting domain, and the military is reliant on space technology to combat such strikes and what you're talking about to defend the homeland. Have you seen any evidence of our adversaries trying to move our satellites in any way?
Well, they get up close and personal. Sometimes, you know, they do what we call it a snuggler. So think of a satellite that snuggles up with another satellite. What it's doing, what its intentions are, what its capabilities are still really limited, but we're gathering more and more information on that all the time. But there are things happening in space all the time that we can't characterize because we don't have enough domain awareness. What we're building at Quantum Space is an ability to where we can know what's happening in space all the time, everywhere from low Earth orbit all the way out to geostationary orbit. And even when I say geostation, that's 23,000 miles from the Earth. But even cislunar space, as you said, that area of space where the Earth's gravity well and the Moon's gravity well impact an orbital vehicle together, which creates some really weird orbital dynamics and physics that allows us to do things that are really unique. So we're operating in those domains, and we're excited to be supporting. You know, President Trump created the Space Force not for no reason, to be really clear. And now the Space Force budget has been increasing under bipartisan administrations. And from this year to next year, it's almost going to double.
Yeah.
This isn't happening by accident. People are recognizing the threat that is in space. And we at Quantum Space are responding.
Absolutely. And, you know, military has used satellites to help target Iranian military sites through the Iran conflict. You know, we spoke with NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman on this program. Even though he's really running the commercial side of NASA, we got into defense as well. Watch this.
This is one of the most important technological domains, and it is no longer secure. I mean, our adversaries have capabilities in space that can threaten our assets. Now, we, of course, have our assets in space that can counter some of that. It's also why the high ground of space keeps getting higher. The satellites initially in low Earth orbit are closer to Earth. They're probably a lot more vulnerable to the satellites we have in geostationary orbit. But now this is why cislunar space is important. You get higher up, you can still look down on Earth. You have some greater freedom of maneuverability the farther away you get. This is kind of the reality of the new space race.
And Jim, I know that your company is expanding operations at a new production facility in Oklahoma. You want to work on the Ranger spacecraft there. It will also serve as Quantum Space's primary area to produce large propulsion tanks and precision spacecraft parts. Jim, congratulations on that. Tell us about your Ranger spacecraft as it's increasingly tied to defense and tracking capabilities, not just lunar exploration.
Yeah, so what Jared Isaacman just said is exactly right. And the issue is this. When I was in the House of Representatives on the Armed Services Committee, we had big, juicy targets in space. We believed space was sanctuary. So we had these multi-billion-dollar assets in space that were really untouchable. And then the adversaries of the United States demonstrated that they could take them out. So we had to do something different. We proliferated. Instead of building multi-billion-dollar satellites and putting them in one spot, we're building thousands of satellites. We're networking them together. We're complicating the targeting solution for the enemy. That's what we're doing as America right now. The challenge is there is a real threat that an enemy could destroy low Earth orbit in its entirety, maybe by detonating a nuclear weapon or something like that. If that's a real threat, we have to distribute the architecture even further, and that's what Jared Isaacman was talking about. We've got to get beyond low Earth orbit. We've got to get to medium Earth orbit, geostationary orbit, which is further out than, it's 23,000 miles from the Earth. It's a lot of energy to get out there. So what we're building, and we're going to build that here in Oklahoma, we're building the highest energy satellite that can go from low Earth orbit to medium Earth orbit to geostationary orbit, all the way out to the moon and back. It's got more fuel than any other satellite on the market. It can be refueled, as a matter of fact, and it has electric and chemical propulsion with a single type of fuel. These are patented technologies that ultimately are going to enable us to defend the United States of America in this very competitive environment in space.
That sounds excellent. Look, the president needs this ramped up yesterday. Are you going to be able to ramp this up in a good period of time? I know you've got the latest Series A funding round. Your company raised, what, $80 million? Tell us how that money is used and whether or not you can answer the call from President Trump to ramp up production fast.
There is no doubt we have to move fast, and that's why we are looking at all options for capital raising. Yes, we have raised a lot of capital. Yes, we're going to need to raise more capital. All those options are on the table, but the reality is we have to scale. We not only have to put our satellites on orbit and demonstrate capability, we also need to scale rapidly to serve the needs of the Space Force. Remember, what the Space Force is calling for is what they say, maneuver without regret. In other words, we can get out of the way of threats. We can get out of the way of debris. We can sometimes, if necessary, have to get up close and personal with an adversary satellite. But all of these things, when we maneuver, we have to be able to say we can maneuver again and again and again and not have a dead satellite, which is currently what happens in space. You use all your fuel and you're done. So a lot of times, commanders are making decisions to not look at what needs to be looked at, to not get the intelligence that needs to be received. And so because of those decisions, we're actually hurting ourselves. So we need more fuel in space. We need the ability to refuel in space, and we need both chemical and electric propulsion on a single vehicle. So these are the capabilities that are going to be transformational for the national security of this country.
All right, we'll be watching all of that. Jim, good to talk with you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Jim Bridenstine joining us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.